Ladies and gentlemen, we are back once again at BRPtv after a fantastic way to start things off in Volusia, Florida last week. We now head north where in the real world it's probably about 20 degrees, but fortunately we are on iRacing, and welcome to the Murder iRacing series here on BRPtv. Tonight's broadcast is going to be brought to you from the virtual Lernerville Speedway in the virtual Sarver, Pennsylvania, and this is the Lightning 40 presented by Sleight Electrical and you are here live with us as we are 4 minutes away from practice ending. I am not alone in the booth. I'm joined, as always, by my partner in crime with this series, Jonathan Howe. Jonathan, last week was a fantastic race. There was a lot of interesting things that happened on the track, but generally I thought it was pretty well maintained and pretty good racing all around. What would you say about how that's going to translate and carry forward the momentum of this series at such a difficult racetrack to get down, Lernerville Speedway?
I feel like every time we've run Lernerville in the past, it's always resulted in a bit of chaos, and that's kind of what I'm anticipating. It's like everybody minded their P's and Q's for the first week. This week, though, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I think we've got 28 entrants, so I think we've got 4 that are going to be going home tonight. I expect these guys to be laying it on the line early and often in this one.
I would agree with that, and I got to do some practice laps here and talk to some of the drivers of the series before this race started. This track is hard to drive. This is going to be one of the races that your discipline on the throttle pedal is going to make the most difference. My laps earlier were stressful and disappointing. It is going to take a skilled individual to get to the front tonight, but we've got plenty of them here with the Murder iRacing series, and this is race 2 of 8 for those guys as we come into tonight's program. Jonathan, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I mean, we had a great race last week. We saw some really awesome running from Mike Brewer. We saw Anthony Roselli win. Are there any names that stick out to you that you're interested in watching tonight specifically for contention at the end of it?
I think I want to see, it's not necessarily that I want, but I'm expecting a bounce back from some guys, you know? A guy like Dominic Roselli. I feel like Dominic might be one of those drivers that we can expect to see bounce back, have a better weekend, maybe not get involved in some of the trouble. And what about our reigning champ, Cody Higbee? Quiet first night out of the gate. I feel like he's prone for maybe a breakout performance and reestablishing himself as one of the favorites in this series. But to do that, he's going to have to go through that 7 car. We see Anthony Roselli at the top of the board once again. And you know what? Another guy that, you know, we probably have a little bit of a soft spot for up here in the tower. He's our good buddy. But Matt DeRitter always seems to run pretty well at Lernerville.
Yes, Matt DeRitter does usually do pretty well here. I'm going to go back and check because I wanted to make sure that I was right. Cody Higbee and Dominic Roselli were the 2 guys who won the races here last season. The season before that was Brandon Plank and Matt DeRitter. So Matt DeRitter is a strong contender. However, he did not get one of the 2 wins last season. Those went to Cody Higbee, who had a ton of speed and skill and efficiency and everything at the very beginning of the season that translated the whole way. And then last year, Dominic Roselli kind of turned things around halfway through the season and put on a momentum show that got him a victory here at this track last season. And then you look at Anthony Roselli, his brother, who is at the top of the board, coming off of some pretty big momentum from last week and leading the championship is the number 7 car, so he could definitely keep that moving forward. He's got Mike Brewer, Gavin Isley, Kenny Coe, and Ryan Beagle as well in the top 5 with him. And tonight we get to see if he will translate it forward. He's got the fastest lap time in practice, which does translate. Well, actually, you know what, Jonathan? What do you think? Do you think that translates the whole way through the night, usually?
I don't know if it translates all the way through the night. I think sometimes some guys just nail it. And I think it's more important in the next stage of the night, qualifying. Getting yourself up inside that top 4 in the heats for a starting spot, track position, it matters. So I don't necessarily say that invest a lot in terms of practice translating through the entire night, but the first half of the night, when you're trying to position yourself for the main, this is where a fast time is something to watch and see who can keep up with one of those fast times and keep up that performance, repeat that performance come qualifying time.
Absolutely. We're looking to see if we can see a repeat for performance in qualifying from Mike Brewer. He was the fastest qualifier at Volusia last week, and as the clock starts ticking, USA 1's going to pull out, as well as a couple other drivers on the grid. But why don't we go ahead and ride along to watch Zach Bardsley start his lap time 5 minutes here on the clock for everybody to put in 2 laps around this racetrack to try to get onto the board. And these qualifying laps are going to set the grid for the heat races in order. No inverts. And Zach Bardsley's out of here. Oh, there's first one of the night. First car over the berm of the night is the 1 car.
And that is not what you want to see if you're Zach Bardsley or a fan of that USA 1. That is a problem. Dean Meitzler right up against it as well. But you got to make sure you get a good time on the board tonight, Joe. With cars potentially going home, you definitely need that track position because it's a lot easier to defend in a heat than to have to be on the attack and fight your way up from maybe the last row on a heat race.
Absolutely right. So within the session itself that we're here in, we have 26 drivers that have attended. So your field tonight will have 24 cars in the main race. We are going to have a consolation to kick 2 of those drivers out. And, 24 out of 26 is a pretty good distribution, but you don't want to be one of those 2 guys. I can say that much. What kind of experience, Jonathan, do you have with this racetrack specifically? You have the World of Outlaws game, so I'm assuming I don't actually even remember, honestly. Is it in the game?
It's it was a DLC for the 2023 season. I think they added it. It wasn't in the initial batch if you're a console player of the World of Outlaws game, but I think it was in the newest release. And of course, like I say, it was DLC for my version of the game as well. But every time I actually jumped back into the game over the weekend and ran some laps. And the thing I forgot about, and it's something you already touched on in the night, throttle control in these modifieds is so incredibly important, especially on some of these tracks where the turns are a little bit tighter. There's not as much room to run around to race. This is one of those tracks where it really, really benefits you to have experience playing the game and running that throttle and controlling that throttle. It's really going to be quite a challenge for these guys over 40 laps.
I think it is. I mean, it was a struggle for me for 1 lap, let alone to try to put together 40, and the track's going to wear out a little bit. This line you're seeing Dylan Smith run right now, I don't want to call Dylan Smith out because there's strategy to what you're doing in qualifying, and this very easily could valid. Yeah, it worked for Dylan. He's up to 8th on the board. This is the rookie line that I would say, because when I was running in the modified here, the first time I put myself in the modified after the most recent updates in this game and ran this racetrack, I went over the berm a couple times. So I moved down to avoid going over, and I ran sort of more where Dylan Smith ran. Now, obviously, Dylan Smith, he put himself pretty high up on the board, 8th place right now. That's not too shabby at all, and we'll see if he can hold that. The only car left to qualify is Mike Brewer, who was one of the fastest all the way through the night last week, and his first time out with the 39B car. On screen he goes, he went to the top, Jonathan. The last car to go is the fastest qualifier of the night as everybody's put in their lap times.
Impressive run for Mike Brewer, who one of the new guys to join the series. Brother of Matt Brewer, who runs in the Dirt Car Sportsman at Thunder Mountain in Afton. If you're familiar with those racetracks, you probably recognize that 39 car as it's a replica of Brother Matt's car for Mike Brewer tonight.
That's cool. I love seeing that. I mean, one of the guys who has been a replica car for a very long time with this series is making his first appearance of the season, Joe Matthews. But we've seen Zach Bardsley run cars that his family's owned. We've seen Joe Matthews. Now we've got we had Brett Haas. We've got just a couple of guys. Ryan Beagle with his car that it's not a modified in real life. But there's a couple of them, and it's really cool to see that we have added Mike Brewer and his brother Matt to that list of vehicles that we're seeing virtually. We sometimes see in person in the real world, which, this is kind of our winter break, if you will. This is how we keep ourselves occupied until we can go back to the racetracks, Jonathan.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joe, look at this. Top 3. Our podium from last week, I believe in reverse order. It was Roselli up top, and then I think Brewer was second, and then Isley. So a bit of a mix-up, but yeah. Cream of the crop rising to the top. Those 3, we saw them be very good at Volusia, and they so far have laid it down in qualifying as well.
cream of the crop has risen to the top. Nice rhyme, and it was the same guys. It was just, let's call it pig Latin, was what the order from the podium last week was. So that will lead us into the first of what we should see 3 8-lap heat races here on BRPtv for the BRP iRacing series, starting off with the first heat race of the night. And from the pole, and it's gone. From the pole is going to be the 39B car, as was called out by the handsome Jonathan Howe. Mike Brewer will go from the first spot on the grid, and to his outside is going to be the number 22C car of Kenny Ko. Had a great run last week and is looking to back it up with maybe another top 5 finish or maybe a little bit better, as he finished 4th last time. Jeff Sharp will go from 3rd place in the number 28 machine out of East Greensbush, New York. And then to his outside is going to be Matt DeRitter, originally out of Pompton Lakes, New Jersey. He is the Murder iRacing Series host and the Murder Graphics 03 machine. Going from the inside of row number 3 is going to see the 84RK. That's Ryan Beagle, a past champion of this series. And to his outside, dirt car Dean Reynolds in car number 79 brought out some new paint to show off this week, looking mighty fine up there in 6th place. Brian Lawson had a really good run of things last week in the 9 machine. He's going to see if he can get a little bit better, back it up, maybe move up from the 7th starting spot in this one. And then Zach Bardsley, we saw him already jump over the berm once tonight, probably try to keep it at once for the whole night for the number USA 1 car. And from shotgun on the field in some new paint as well tonight, Glenn Sharp in car number 99 will roll from the 9th starting spot. That's your lineup for the first heat race of the night of 3. Got Mike Brewer and Kenny Ko on the front row. 2 new guys in this series this season. Jonathan, 2 big names to watch out for throughout the program tonight, in my opinion.
I agree with you, and I really have my eyes on that 39 tonight. You know, another one too to watch. Jeff Sharp right behind him there, and had a good time in practice. We said that might matter later on in the night. We'll see if Jeff can keep the speed up and keep the nose clean tonight as we are underway in heat number 1. Good racing. They're already 3 wide going into corner number 1 and 2, and Bardsley up and over again. And Zach a little bit off the pace and struggling with that one. Oh, hang on to it. I think that's Dirk Cardine over the border as well.
Yep, Dirk Cardine and Zach Bardsley were the 2 that jumped the berm to start this one off. Lap number 1, besides those 2, is clean. Mike Brewer gets a nice lead. Jeff Sharp into 2nd. Very good call, Jonathan. It's like you've done this before. You got Jeff Sharp called out, and then he had that great start. Kenny Ko, though, did get a rough start. That was not a good way to get things rolling for the 22C car. And at this point in the night, with how young the track is, you're just kind of out to dry if you're starting up top at all. But did not look like he got a good start at all, Jonathan.
Keeping an eye on that 4th place battle. Here comes DeRitter now, and Beagle right there sandwiched between him and Ko. Now, this is going to be an intense battle. Why? They do not want to have to run a consi, right? Top 4 drivers are going to be locked in, and then everyone else going to the consolation. If I have my understanding of the format here tonight, Joe, this is going to be a hard-fought battle, and if you're DeRitter, you want to get after it. This is a place where he knows he can win. You may as well lock yourself in now if you can.
Yeah, and another really important thing about that not only is transferring, but trying to get as close to the front as possible, because every position in your heat race is equivalent to 2 other drivers, so 3 of you in total. So, finishing in 3rd place versus 4th place could be the difference between starting in, 7th or 12th? I mean, there's some pretty big differences between those positions if you don't, so you want to try to get those positions up. So the white flag comes out last time around. Kenny Ko was able to get things together a little bit. Mike Brewer has had this heat race under control, Jonathan.
Yeah, Brewer getting a little bit of pressure from Ko, but Ko is going to hang on to that 2nd spot. Good battle for 3rd there as Beagle swipes that one away from Sharp. And those 4 will be heading to the A-main. We know that. Meanwhile, Matt DeRitter, the best of the rest, finishing in 5th spot.
A good run for Mike Brewer and a great run by Ryan Beagle at the very end of that one. I'm glad you caught that. That was a last turn pass for 3rd place for the 84 car. And while that does not equate to bonus points, any specific or more bonus points than he would have gotten, that is worth a couple positions on the grid, like I mentioned before, and good for Ryan Beagle. I could see Ryan doing well for the rest of tonight. He is somebody that could take advantage of this racetrack. We got 8 more laps for the 2nd heat race of the night, and the 9 cars lined up as so. Start with Gavin Isley in car number 18, the Performance Automotive machine, a regular of this series. We'll go from the pole in this one. Trevor Giroux on his outside in car 75T, new to the series this season, out of Chatham, Ontario, with the Super Dirt Car Series RSN Trackside Lambden Diesel Specialists machine. Inside row number 2, car number 4, purple and silver for Scott Rayom. Had a great run, started off in Volusia last week that did not close as he got caught up in a late race incident. Cody Higbee, defending champion of this series, goes from his outside in the Handsome Devil Barbecue Iceless 97 car. Starting in 5th place, you got Matt Barber in car number 16, making his debut with this series as he missed the opener at Volusia last time. He's here tonight to try to see if he can qualify for the A main. He will start to the inside of car number 883. That is Bud Molyneux of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Starting on the inside of row number 4, you've got the 20 machine, Tony Stewart font on some orange. Looks nice for Cody Harris. And Al Sleight in the Sleight Electrical number 2, the presenting sponsor of tonight's show, goes from 8th. Last on the grid, car number 9, again, is Joe Matthews making his first start of the Murder iRacing series here with us for 8 more laps in heat race number 2. The Lightning 40 is coming to us as quick as lightning as we're already underway with our second heat race of the night.
Good start from the front row here. Everybody kind of settling in. Ooh, I was going to say minding their P's and Q's, but we see the top 2 starting to mix it up. Cody Higbee making some hay on the outside. Everybody chasing that 18 car to start it off.
Looks like Joe Matthews didn't quite get that great of a start. Alan Sleight maybe a little too. I noticed everybody dove to the inside so quickly in 3 and 4 especially. Look at Rayom, look at Barber down on the inside, Joe Matthews back there. They're really pushing it down to the grass in especially 3 and 4 right now, Jonathan. Are they trying to search for grip that quickly, or do they feel like the track's that juiced up?
I think everybody must think there's some speed down there. And maybe they're right, because Cody Higbee has been committed to the outside, and he has not really gone forward since the drop of the green flag. Speaking of not going forward, we saw a pass for the lead there, and now we see the 18 of Isley dropping back. Rayom fighting back on the outside as Isley's going to go to the bottom, the catfish, where we expect to see him. It seems like if you want to make hay, you got to get to the bottom of this racetrack.
Absolutely agree with that. Why don't we take a second and let's go on board with Gavin Isley here as he goes into turn number 3, and you can see, man, you know, that off angle, that reverse banking that you have down in turn 4, that is a B word. That is a female dog of a turn to get through. It is difficult to do. Gavin Isley is somebody I would expect to be at a high level of capable, but Jonathan, man, props to him for running it.
You know, I think I kind of feel the opposite, and maybe, you know, I'm making the adjustment based on the console games, but anytime I've driven on a track that's got that kind of upward banking, reverse banking, like you say, I feel like it's really good to help me hook the car, and I think a guy like Gavin Isley, who likes the bottom, and we know is good at running the bottom, that's probably what he uses to his advantage, and maybe helps him kind of set himself up there, maybe a little bit too low, but that was a great corner. Almost got there, but couldn't quite get Giroux at the end. It's Giroux and Isley, and then Barber with a pretty solid performance there in the 16 car to bring it home in the 16 spot, or in the third spot, in the 16 car, and Rayom rounds out your top 4.
That was, you know, we kind of missed that. Matt Barber got things together and had a really good run. That was awesome. I'm impressed. I mean, it was his first time that we've seen him out on the racetrack. We'll have to wait and see if that translates to some quality runs and some speed in the main event. But I'm feeling pretty good about that 16 car. We got 8 more drivers.
Don't count out.
Sorry.
I was going to say, don't count out Barber. He is a professional. Dirt car sportsman driver, races out of Brockville in an Ontario track for about 4 hours from where I'm at, Joe.
Well, there you go. Mr. Excitement has something exciting in store for us tonight then. Heat race number 3, set to be exciting as well. We got Anthony Roselli on the pole. He is your defending winner from last week at Volusia. On the outside, his brother, the other Van Sickle electric machine, is the 80 car. Dominic D. Rose from second place. Third place on the grid is going to be car number 15 out of Pine Bush, New York. TAD Excavation, Nelson's Bar Hig Fab chassis for the 15S of Dylan Smith. And to his outside, another Smith, car number 57 out of Cortland, New York, and the Dig Race Products machine is Dan Smith. Starting from the inside of row number 3, you got the 35 car of Connor Ross. It's a Picknell-sponsored car. He's raced with this series a long time ago, and he's back on the block with us again. And then scored as the 27, driving with 271 on the side, is going to be a first-time appearance for Sean Green. And he will roll from the outside of row 3. Row number 4 starts on the inside with the Sleight Electrical Service number 71. Sleight hosting tonight's show. Dylan Slider. And on the outside, out of Pennsylvania, the Dirt Defender, number 49, Dean Meitzler, a regular of this series as well. We got a couple regulars, got a couple rookies. We got 8 laps. We're going to see who comes to the front and who falls to the tail. Green flag, 8 more laps of heat racing tonight, Jonathan. And Dominic Roselli with a fantastic start off the outside.
Good start as we've got the all Roselli front row battling it out right now. Anthony, hold on to it. And now, this could be 3 wide. Everybody thinks better of it, but man, that got awfully tight coming out of corner 4. Oh,
Dan.
Contact.
Dan Smith.
More contact.
He's kind of all over the place right now, and he's going to drop back. He came into the corner too hot the first time, and then he came into the corner too hot in the start of the second lap here that we just finished. That was a little much from the 57 car. It's going to put him in 8th place, and a big gap has now built as Dominic Roselli is clear of all this traffic, and Anthony Roselli is trying to hold it all off.
Good battle here, shaping up 3 wide. Whoa. Maybe the 35 got a little too close there, and Smith in the 15. Man, that got awfully tight. I thought that was going to be a whole wad up there. That's really shuffled things out as we see more cars starting to move forward, and Green trying to find his way forward. Ross falls back out of a transfer spot. We'll see if he can fight his way back up here as we got a good battle shaping up for the second spot, Joe.
Yeah, Dylan Smith's got a good car underneath him right now, and I didn't want to say it negatively because I didn't mean it that way with Dylan Smith running down low during the earlier stages of this event, but he's been doing it in this heat race, and he's holding on to 3rd place pretty well. So definitely not a rookie line for Dylan Smith to try to stay low right now, try to stay where there is grip. Anthony Roselli's trying to run sort of up at the edge of where we've run the track in and see if there's a little grip there. Maybe he can put something together to try to catch his brother, who he's got about a half a second difference from on the straightaways. Dominic Roselli leads again as the white flag is going to come out for us, and we'll see which of the Rosellis gets to the line first in this heat race.
Gotta wonder if the track is already changing in a big way, Joe. Dominic Roselli does a pretty good job of dominating this one and showing that he is back to form as he takes the checkered over last week's winner, brother Anthony Roselli, and then Smith and Green, your final drivers in through the top 4 transfer spots, Joe. So not a surprise to see both those boys at the front of the field. The Rosellis are back to form at Lernerville.
They are, and, well, Anthony was in form for sure last week. And, you know, Dominic started off with an incident at Volusia, and he started pretty far back in the main event, and he still rallied up into a top 10, so he did pretty well with that. And we'll see if that will take him a little bit further tonight, since he's starting so much closer to the front. He is starting fairly close to the front. This is a grid of 14 drivers who are trying to start at all in the main event here at the Lightning 40 presented by Sleight Electrical Service at Lernerville Speedway. We've got 14 of them lined up in 7 rows. We'll check out the starting lineup here for the consolation, if you will, the B main. Starting from the pole of this one, Murder Graphics 03 car of Matt DeRitter will go on the outside of him is going to be Scott Rayom in the number 4 machine. Then we've got Dylan Slider in the 71 car alongside Brian Lawson. That makes up row number 2. Row number 3 sees Joe Matthews on the inside in another 9 car. So we got 2 9s starting right about next to each other here. There they both are. They almost have the same font number 9 on the side of the car at all. Dan Smith will go from 6th place after a little bit of a mess to start off his heat race. Glenn Sharp's going to go from 7th, and Al Sleight will go from 8th place on the grid. 9th place is Dean Meitzler, and to his outside is Dean Reynolds, so row 5 is all Deans. Cody Harris in the 20 car goes from 11th. Connor Ross in the 35 goes from 12th. Something happened to him at the very end of his heat race, and he ended up last. Zach Bardsley is 13th on the grid, and Bud Molyneux, it appears it did not make the call. So I think they might let him roll from the pit lane if he gets in line right away before the pace laps are done. Elsewise, that only leaves one car having a tough time with this. It basically means only one car out of those who start is going to go home, which helps a lot of these guys, I'm sure.
Yeah, it definitely gives you some insurance if you're running kind of mid-pack that you can make this thing as long as you don't make any mistakes. But the other thing to look at, too, if you're a Matt DeRitter, if you're one of the guys towards the front of the field, you can use this as an extra test session, extra practice session. You don't get too many extra laps where you're racing against other competitors. And you can see DeRitter getting some good practice at leading a field right now. You got to wonder what either of these guys at the front could learn for a feature time.
We got a freaking mess going on back here. Only one car is going home, but we really wouldn't be able to tell you which one it's going to be yet. They got a 3, now 4, almost 5 wide battle going on down the front stretch again, as Zach Bardsley is the one who's left out to dry. Dean Meitzler and Connor Ross right there in front of him. Dean Reynolds also sort of in a spot he's got to be careful with. Connor Ross is running the high line very well. Oh, Dean Reynolds bounced off 3-4 cars there, and just like that, Dean Reynolds is into the grips of not qualifying for this one. Knows Bardsley's going to back it up a little bit too much down on the inside, and that's going to put the 79 back in front of him. But 2 Deans right there. Zach's got to figure something out here because oh no! Scott Rayom!
Who is that?
That's Scott Rayom.
Oh no!
From second place. Something really went wrong for that 4 car, and he's all the way back into that position that we don't want to be in, Jonathan.
No, and you know what? That's a shame, too, because Scott was having a pretty good evening so far. I know ended up in this consolation race, but so did a lot of drivers, and a lot of great drivers at that. And he's going to need some help here if he's going to get back into this one. And he might get it here as they're starting to stack up on the back straightaway. We got one car sideways. He's going over the berm. That's going to maybe help out. Oh, keep it in the ballpark.
They're going to hit.
They're big hit.
Damn.
Big hit for the 99 there. Big wreck for Glenn Sharp.
Oh, that is such a heartbreaker. I think that's going to be it. That's all she wrote. Yep, Glenn Sharp's going to get it pulled back. And, if this were F1, that would get called for an unsafe entry. This is dirt racing, so we're not that prissy about it. But that was just a little, he had to get back on the track. Rayom was there. I don't know. Do you make anything of that, Jonathan?
No, I think that's just kind of desperation. And the other thing, too, if you're Scott Rayom, I don't think you even know that Sharp's up there, right? You're just trying to get back into this race and try to make a pass on somebody. And you fought back pretty well to get to this point and at least stay alive. But that's a tough break for Glenn Sharp as we're now on the white flag lap. And Matt DeRitter doing a good job. He's going to probably walk away with this one ahead of Matthews.
I believe he is. So Matt DeRitter is going to win the first B main of this season over Joe Matthews, Brian Lawson, Dan Smith, and Alan Sleight. And we got a little bit of action going on. Whoa, Connor Ross is gone. We got a little bit of action going on back here for some positioning on the starting grid. Zach Bardsley had something go wrong as well. So Rayom actually did not finish in last, but fortunately for Bardsley and Rayom, we saw Glenn Sharp and have trouble, and we saw Bud Molyneux not make the call at all. So that's going to be the 2 guys who get sent home. And we've got our 24 guys ready to go for the feature. Or at least we got a warm-up session first, Jonathan, and then we'll be ready for the feature.
Yeah, and this is going to be pretty intense, I feel like. 24 cars, Lernerville, tight racetrack. I expect to see multiple guys get out of the ballpark at some point or another. And this Murder iRacing Series event is going to be one for the books. And you know what? 40 laps around this place. This is going to be a short event, I think, too.
I was thinking that earlier tonight. This is fun. It's a video game, These guys like to have some fun with it sometimes. You're absolutely right, Jonathan. I was thinking about this before we got on tonight. We could have some yellows, and this could take a while. But 40 laps is really not that long. It's 10 laps shorter even than the race we had last week, so we definitely could be wrapping things up fairly quickly tonight. But that just means these guys have to get on the throttle a little bit quicker and get on go mode a little bit faster in the feature race tonight, which I'm sure is going to equate to some exciting racing for us.
Well, it's just less time to work with, right, Joe? You're going to have to make your moves when you can make them, and that could get you in trouble. Sometimes we see it. A guy gets a great run into the corner, Another driver doesn't even realize that he might soon be there, might be under fire, and then bang, contact, both cars, one car, two cars, maybe more cars involved in a situation that really is not what you want to see, but that's kind of what we're expecting from Lernerville. It could go one of two ways, and I really expect... The one thing I think I forget about this track, Joe, is sometimes we watch the broadcast, and I'm like, oh, this is a narrow track. There is a lot of room to work with around Lernerville.
Yeah, good point. Now, I agree with you, but I also want to make mention that once you start running the top line dominantly, it narrows what your capabilities are. Because you do have plenty of space, but if you get to a point where the top's dominating, you really don't have anything you can do. It's basically just waiting for the top to wear out enough that you can move around a little bit. If we get to that point, it'll be a little tight, but I think we're going to get to and past that point, because it appears to me that race control has decided we need to work this track in a good bit. Every single car is out on the track right now, and every single car is burning up the grip that we have in it, so we'll have to... I assume that it's in an effort to make the track a little older.
Yeah, and you know what? I think it's a good call at that too, Joe. We don't want to see a one-lane facility breakout here. You see some guys still testing the middle, trying the bottom, seeing what's there, and getting some experience running those spots too, right? Because if you're a guy who is bottom feeding all throughout your heats and through qualifying, and now you got to run the top, you got to kind of figure that out. And if you don't want to move up there, maybe you're committed to the middle groove like we're watching Cody Higbee, you got to make sure that you still have some bite to attack. And now you see Higbee move up. He's trying a different line. It's probably for the best here to get around and experiment while you can and while they're trying to work this place in.
Absolutely. And man, I'm just going to call out Cody Higbee is... Holy cow, he's good at this. Look at how close he is to the... Man, he's so close to going over the edge. That's crazy. What a driver. I mean, it shows why he's the champion of the series.
Absolutely. I mean, right on the edge of control at all times, right on the edge of that berm, and you can see the 22 dive to the inside. This is kind of what I'm expecting, Joe. I think we're going to see a lot of passes where somebody follows another driver into the corner, and then maybe at the halfway point, right on that transition between 1 and 2 or 3 and 4, you take a little bit of a lower line, try to get to the inside, get that drive off down the hill, and see if you can make the pass going into the next set of corners.
I would agree with you. I think the momentum coming from the banking is going to be a big part of this race tonight. So that is, I think, really good practice for Kenny Coe, and especially a good driver to be practicing with. We jumped here to Alan Sleight. He's supposed to be sitting still, and maybe he's just going to go get into race mode now in his pit. He is the presenting sponsor of tonight's show, the Sleight Electrical presented Lightning 40. Sleight Electrical is out of Ontario, up north, but he is an electrician. They offer electrical supplies. There's links in the description of this video to go check out what Alan's all about, what he does in his daytime duties, if you will. But we appreciate Alan for coming on board with the series, sponsoring tonight's show, partnering with the series in general, and being a long-time dedicated member of what we are doing here. We appreciate Alan for showing up, let alone presenting tonight's show. We also want to shout out Murder Graphics, MDR Designs, Creative Turnings, the Southern Ontario Dirt Show, and 47 Technology for helping put BRPtv up for all of you guys. And up we go, and ready we are for 40 laps in the Lightning 40 at Lernerville. Starting grid going to get ready to go in the pit lane, and then out to the track we will see them attend. Mike Brewer in the 39B car will go from the pole. To his outside, Trevor Giroux in the 75 machine. Two rookies to this series of this season will lead us to the green. Dominic Roselli will start from third place. Car number 80 had a great run at the end of last season, trying to see if he can maybe go get himself another Lernerville win with this series. To his outside, Kenny Coe, another rookie, 22C car, fast guy. That's one of my guys to watch tonight, is that machine starting from fourth place. Fifth place on the grid, going to be Gavin Isley in the number 18 car, and to his outside will be the winner last week, the Ice Chip, Anthony Roselli. Starting from 7th place on the grid, you got the 84 RK of Ryan Beagle, and to his outside, another sleeper to watch. And I call him a sleeper only because it's his first time with the series, Matt Barber in the 16. This goes from 8th. 9th place will be Dylan Smith in the 15S. To his outside is going to be Jeff Sharp in the 28, longtime member of this series. Defending champion Cody Higbee in the 97 machine goes from 11th, and to his outside, scored as the 27, shown as the 271, is Sean Green. 13th on the grid, the winner of the B main is Matt DeRitter. To his outside will be Joe Matthews. Then 15th on the grid is going to be Brian Lawson. And outside row number 8 will be Dan Smith in the white number 57 car. 17th on the grid, Alan Sleight. 18th is Connor Ross. 19th, Cody Harris. In 20th, Dean Meitzler. Dylan Slater in 21st. Dean Reynolds in 22nd. Scott Rayom and Zach Bardsley make up the final row for 40 laps here at Lernerville. Jonathan, how many laps are we getting in before we have a yellow?
Ooh, I mean, I'm optimistic. Let's say 12.
Okay, wow. There's a lot of cars. We'll see. we'll see how worked in the track was in that warm-up session. I'm gonna keep an eye on turns 1 and 2, but we're gonna keep an eye on the whole field as best as we can, as it's time to go and it's racing and the green flag is out. Mike Brewer and Trevor Giroux lead us into turn number 1. And things look okay for the moment. I'm watching on timing and scoring, and it appears we've all gotten through there. And wow, okay. Well, we did get through the first lap. Look at us go.
Yeah, everybody makes it through clean and green thus far. Patience at the back of the field. No patience up at the front as Brewer already back on the attack, trying to get by Giroux, and we got a battle shaping up for the 3rd spot as well. A little bit of a connection issue, I think, with Dominic Roselli. I saw that 80 car blinking a little bit, but he is up there riding in the 4th spot right now, trying to catch Coe in the 22 car for 3rd.
Kenny Coe is the one running the top side at the utmost. Trevor Giroux trying to defend, I think, 2 lines at the same time. It's working for him. He's not exactly building a gap, but he's not losing any time to those two. Kenny Coe slips around the outside of the 39B car and into 2nd place. There's plenty of time left to make the rest of it up, but this is a great race at the front, and we are now 5 laps into the show. Pretty quick running, and Jonathan, you might have called it right. They're running quite well, even in the mid-pack here, where we got some good action going on sort of at the outside of the top 5 into it, with, 3 wide right there with Higbee, Green, and Sharp, and now 3 wide here, too.
Really surprised to see Cody Higbee trying to make some hay down low. I figured he would have been one of those drivers to jump to the top side of the racetrack early in this one. Hasn't really been able to move too far forward yet in it, as we got a couple cars almost bouncing off each other. That got real close there. Oh. And hang on to it! No, not Ryan Beagle. Those 2 red and black cars look so similar, Joe. But everybody kind of still minding their P's and Q's. This has been a clean race thus far. And up at the front, now we see the 22 of Coe go to the top side and go to the lead. He was the first adopter of using that outside line, I would say, in this race, Joe. And I think it's paid off for him, especially with the clean racetrack in front of him. I think the top line not working as well, maybe deeper in the field, just because if you get a great run and there's somebody in front of you, you got to jump out of the gas or maybe jump on the brakes, and that allows the inside line or somebody to jump out of line and make an attack on you. But Coe using that track position, we talked about how important that would be, as we've got the TV time for the sponsor. Al Sleight involved with Scott Rayom, and I think one more car also. Don't think there's going to be a caution. Bardsley also is the other driver involved, and he's just going to take it pit side.
Yep, Bardsley. It was Bardsley, Sleight, and Rayom, and it appears that Bardsley's pulled off. Sleight and Rayom continue on, and I'm kind of surprised. I thought that would probably be a yellow, and it wasn't. So Alan Sleight's going to have to fall into the hands of the leaders, and we'll see if he just gets out of their way. He has a right to defend a lead lap run, and I don't think he's going to hold it very long. Kenny Coe really has it hooked up on the outside, like you were mentioning, Jonathan.
Yeah, he's got something figured out up there. Slate's still trying to fight in the middle groove. Rayom, not the night that he wanted. Of course, getting involved in a little bit of an incident, jumping the berm during the consolation event, but still fighting at the tail end of the lead lap right now as Coe continues to lead Brewer and Dominic Roselli. Roselli trying to make something work and see if he can find some of that speed he had earlier in the night to go up there and battle, but hasn't been able to yet, as we're not too far away. We're about 3/4 of the way, or more than that now, into this one. The 1/3 of the way into this race, Joe, and it's still pretty wide open.
Yeah, I'm starting to observe and think that maybe the top side's a little bit too strong right now at this point in the race. And I'm not too worried about the long term of the race because it's going to get worn in. And if things start getting crazy at the end of this one, we're going to end up with a mess anyway. We're going to end up with things changing completely. But for the time being, it does kind of look like the top side's got a little bit of an advantage, and everybody's kind of running in line, especially at this point. Joe Matthews is the only person I'm really seeing trying to dig down low. Even Gavin Isley's up top, and Kenny Coe kind of set the tone by taking the lead up there, and I don't think anybody's pushing to push any different envelopes and try anything different. They're just kind of riding through the middle point of this race right now.
Yeah, I think everyone's being a little bit conservative, minding their P's and Q's, minding that berm. I think there's a little bit of grip still up on the high side of 1 and 2, that if somebody really wants to get aggressive and turn up the wick, they might be able to dip just ever so slightly into that tackier stuff, get some grip, get some run, get some bite. But I think right now, clean air, clean racetrack ahead. Coe really is in control of this one and not looking back. He is driving away from Brewer, it appears.
Yes, it appears that Alan Sleight has pulled off the racetrack, and I think Connor Ross just did the same. So we are down to 21 cars out on the track. Scott Rayholm, the last of them, and he is the only one not on the lead lap, excuse me, as he's gotten passed already by Mike Brewer, who's in second place. Dominic Roselli trying to do the same. Wow, yep, okay, there you can see the darkness in the corners now on the top side of the racetrack. This is very quickly developing into a track that I'm expecting movement on. It looks like it's getting slick already, and up top, you know, when you're going the long way around and it's slick, and here Mike Brewer might be proving my point, it's time to start searching for other ways to catch up to that number 22 C car.
Yeah, and you can watch Brewer. I mentioned some of that tackier stuff on the high side. When he enters in 1 and 2, you can see the marks that he's leaving behind. This time he runs right in the black through 3 and 4 after trying the bottom side. I don't think it worked exactly the way he wanted the previous lap, as Dominic Roselli was able to close right in. Now Roselli's going to dive to the inside and try to get a run, but there's just not quite the drive off the bottom side of the racetrack as you come back up the hill. You're really fighting the gravity with that one.
Yeah, but it's just kind of, there's a big bump in turn number 1 that you have to watch out for. It's just kind of the way you have to go, and maybe it even helps him a little bit get woed up and ready to hit the berm on the top side and run off the corner to do that line where you kind of slide up the hill, because you do lose momentum as you go. But if you have to slide somebody, you got to slide somebody, and maybe it's an advantage for him. There's a bump right on the entry of turn number 1. Let me see if we can ride with someone here. Let's check Dan Smith. So right about there is a little bump that if you hit it wrong, you're going over the berm. And especially once it gets slick up there, you don't want to push it too much. They might just be trying to avoid that for safety's sake. It's a little early in this race to do something super crazy. Kenny Coe seems to have been doing it pretty well to this point, but that might be part of why Mike Brewer's moving the way he is. Although at this one, Dylan Slider, he saved it. I didn't think he was going to for a second there.
No, that looked like it was dead set on hitting the wall, but Slider able to save it on the bottom side of the racetrack as the leaders race around it. And back up at the front, Brewer is closing back in on Coe, and they're both driving away from Dominic Roselli. Roselli looks like he's fighting the race car a little bit and might be under fire for that third spot soon enough. But Brewer really starting to put some laps together here. He has his sights set on Coe for this lead.
Mike Brewer had a fantastic run of things, ended up second place at Volusia. Right now, here at Lernerville, he's also in second place. He had a great start to the evening again and is one of the strong contenders, but just, I guess he's stuck being second for the beginning of this season. Kenny Coe had a great start, a fourth place finish last time out at Volusia in his first attempt with the series. And this time he's leading, but only by a nose, because Mike Brewer just tried to slide him unsuccessfully in 1 and 2, but that's showing the 39B car is indeed reeling in Coe, and we are looking at a battle for the lead with 10 laps to go.
10 laps to go. So far, so good at the front of this field. Slide job's going to work, maybe. Now, Coe's going to be able to fight back on the inside, but now Brewer's got the top side of the racetrack. He'll cut back to the inside, and these two are going to continue to duel for that top spot into 1 and 2. Coe moves down the racetrack a little bit, trying to prevent that slider. Does a good job of playing defense there, Joe.
Yeah, that was well defended by Coe. This time Brewer, that's too much. That's too much. I thought
that was close.
I thought that was too much. But he stayed in the bounds of the track, and actually he's going to run a topside line. He might have just snookered Coe a little bit and faked him out. Now he's going to go for the slider again. He knows he can do it without going over the berm, and he is so darn close to it, but he does not do it. Yellow flag. We have a caution to pause all of this, and I think Dominic Roselli might be involved with Trevor Giroux here. I think that's who this is going to be for.
Everybody catch your breath. We'll see if we can get a replay on what happened with those two. But that was some fantastic racing at the front of this field. Man, oh man, what brought it to an end, Joe?
Let's see what brought it to an end. I don't know if it actually was Roselli that brought out this yellow. It might be Brian Lawson who brought it out, because maybe it was Kenny. Oh man, I don't even know who caused the yellow. I thought it was because Roselli and
there it is. It's
Anthony
Roselli.
Anthony, what on earth? Let's try it again. Let's try it again with this replay and see what happens here. One more back, and we've got Anthony Roselli on the inside of Gavin Isley. This was a good battle, sort of in the middle of the pack that we weren't watching, but Jonathan, we're going to see this in the corner. I think Gavin's just they're going to bring a little bit too much momentum to each other here.
Yeah, it looks like Gavin thought that Anthony might stay a little higher than he did. Tried that middle line, and Roselli, gets hit from the big dog Beagle there. And then look at the maneuvers from Sharp's going to miss it, I'm pretty sure. And then, big hit there. I believe that's Smith. Yeah. That's some heavy damage to Smith. That's going to be a whole reset of his vehicle, I believe, tonight. But tough break for Anthony Roselli, who was coming off a win and running pretty well tonight, Joe. But just a little bit of contact there.
Yeah, a little bit of contact can go a long way now with this new damage model on these cars, and it is going to appear that Dylan Smith will retain his position on track, so he's going to stay. They're resetting as they go across the line right here, so we'll give it a second to see where he's actually at. I think he's 8th place or 7th. He's 8th place, yep. Meanwhile, though, we're going to see Anthony Roselli at the tail. He did get a fast repair on that car, so he is able to contend with basically a brand new race car as we go back to green here at the front. Kenny Coe's got his first restart under his belt now as we go back to green. He was the leader. Will he stay there? Mike Brewer's looking for a run down the backstretch.
Yeah, and down into 3 and 4. I was going to say, I thought I saw yellow lights down the back straight away.
Yep.
And
Dylan.
We'll see if we'll figure out, is that Dylan again?
I think so. Let's try the replay. I wasn't successful last time with calling out who brought the yellow, but I think I'm pretty comfortable with calling this one because it appears that Dylan Smith is going to miss the entry of this corner and go way off the track here.
Yeah, it looks okay, right? Yeah, no, he just got real.
That was weird.
The car just went, the car just kind of went straight. Now, Joe, I was going to ask, you said he retained a spot. Are you able to fast repair in the game and then retain a position?
I don't think so. When you come into the pits, you go to the tail end of the grid. I wonder if he didn't.
Because he had a lot of damage from that incident.
Yeah, I wonder if that's what if he didn't go into the pits. Sometimes what you see on your screen as an iRacer isn't exactly what the driver is experiencing of a separate car in a session. So we saw some pretty hefty damage to Dylan Smith's car, and rightfully so. He had some damage. But maybe because we saw his wheel come off, that might not have actually happened to his car. It's a video game. Things like that happen sometimes. But whatever damage he had must have bit pretty hard when he got into turn number 1 on the restart, and he just couldn't turn and ended up sliding off the racetrack and brought out another yellow. That's a tough break for him because he had retained his position and he was in the top 10. And if the car hadn't have been busted, I think that could have equated to a good run to the end for him. But unfortunately, there was a little bit of damage he was not prepared for on that machine. And now he is at the tail end of the field with only 7 laps of green flag racing yet to come.
And look at this restart. Brewer all over the backside of Coe as they come back to green. And look at Roselli making a challenge on the bottom side. Don't give Dominic Roselli too many chances to get back in this fight. You know that he can make this difficult on these front two if he gets the chance. Now, out of 4, Coe has Brewer all over his backside. I am expecting to see some more slide jobs exchanged as Brewer stays on the high side of the racetrack and Coe goes low. Not what I expected to see, and now the crossover comes, Joe.
Oh, look out, Brewer's got a lot of momentum. He just barely stays in the bounds of the track, but he took the lead. That time by the 39B had the edge over Kenny Coe. He's going to run the middle line. Brewer's going to stay up top. Dominic Roselli's got to figure out a way to get his car into this fight if he wants to contend for the win. Right now, Mike Brewer running a very strong way up the racetrack using the banking to his advantage. Kenny Coe tried to cut as much distance as he could and stay in the fight there, and it just does not look like Kenny Coe can run the middle as well as he could run the top before, but Mike Brewer took it away from him.
No, Brewer has really come to life on this restart. We saw that his car was really a long run piece that seemed to play into his hands the later we got in this race, and now even in the short run to the checkers, he's managed this vehicle, he's managed this racing surface just perfectly.
Oh, look out! Hang on, yellow! Oh my gosh! Oh, no.
Was that Dean? That was Dean Meitzler.
Oh my goodness, what on earth was that? What was that? Oh man, we are going to have to check a replay out. I really hope Kenny Coe does not have damage from that. That would suck. Man, that would suck.
What a shame that would be.
Yeah, all right. Let's check out what happened here. Oh, boy, howdy.
Definitely a multi-car incident here as the 20 car goes around first.
Mm-hmm. That's Cody Harris, and he's just going to slide up and right back into where Meitzler and Barber are. And then you'll notice there's damage on the 49 car here, and then this is going to translate to him not being able to make turns 3 and 4. Actually, I think we're going to do a little monster jam down the backstretch first here, Jonathan.
Yep.
Yeah. And then he's going to come back onto the racetrack in turns 3 and 4, rather than getting off of the track here at the pit exit, which is getting close. He's right at about where he would just be able to pull off and let this race continue as is. But I guess he didn't feel that damage, so he comes back onto the track. We can see it. That car is looking in two directions at the same time, and then this is where he realizes he has no grip and no turn, and then he's going to. And he tried to get off the racetrack as soon as he realized, but just not quick enough for Kenny Coe.
No, Meitzler was just a victim. I don't even know if maybe he could have got pit side. I don't know which way that car really wanted to go, Joe. It's a tough break for Meitzler with the amount of damage he had from that first incident, and tough break for Kenny Coe as I'm pretty sure that car, it's got to have a little bit of right front suspension if I had to guess. But it appears he's not worried about it. It looks like he's going to stay out on the racetrack and continue on and see if he can fight to get this win back.
Well, I don't think I'd chance it even if I really did think I had damage. You're in second place right now. We're on board with him. I'm trying to look if there's a little bit of toe or anything that's abnormal about that right front tire here. We're getting ready to go back to green, but Kenny seems... What do you think, Jonathan? Can you make out anything about that right front that scares you?
No, it looks like everything looks pretty standard. So maybe it was just all body, and he hit one of those side rails. As we come back to green, this is a great shot. Oh, look at Dominic Roselli get to the inside of Coe there, and those two are going to battle it out for second. Brewer's going to drive away.
Brewer gets a lucky break for Mike up front. Now Kenny Coe really trying to rim ride as the white flag's going to come out. Next flag's going to end this race, I believe. Oh my gosh! Down into the grass, Kenny Coe, and he slid back, and Mike Brewer's going to ride back across him. Will we have one more send through 3 and 4? Kenny Coe to the very bottom. Oh, it's going to be close. Kenny Coe!
He might get him! Oh, did he get him?
I don't even know.
Oh, he got him!
Oh,
he got him! Kenny Coe got him! Oh. If I'm seeing the timing and scoring right, Joe, I think he got him.
5 thousandths of a second between Kenny Coe and Mike Brewer. Wow.
What a race.
Wow. That was a fantastic. You know what? Nobody did that at the end of the race. The whole way through, nobody stayed down there. They were all sliding and trying different things. And Kenny Coe, he had one opportunity. Stay low and find some grip. And he found some grip. Kenny Coe, 22C car, in his second race is a first-time winner with this racing series. What a freaking run to the raw line, Jonathan. Holy cow.
And we were worried that car was busted up. We thought there might be damage, that maybe he wasn't going to be able to actually get to the end of this race with a top 3 spot. Instead, he's able to get on the fight and win. I can't believe First, the first move in through 1 and 2, I couldn't believe, Joe, that it worked, and he didn't give up too much time to take himself out of making another mounting another challenge into 3 and 4. What a race! I think I'm speechless.
That's insane. You know what's going to be insane is that we get to talk to him and see what the deal was. I think he's ready, Jonathan. I'm going to hand the mic to you, and we're going to bring Kenny Ko into the booth to get a lowdown on one of the most exciting finishes I've ever seen with this racing series.
Kenny Ko, it's Jonathan up in the tower. Buddy, do you have a copy?
I got you.
I don't have much to say to you right now because I'm still processing that final lap. Walk us through that. First, the challenge in 1 and 2, and then fighting your way back into 3 and 4 and taking that win away at the end. What a lap that was.
Yeah, the lap before he kind of ran a slider in 3 and 4, so I got a good run on him coming off the top. Figured my only chance was to slide him in 1 and 2, but I heard him still out there, so let off a little bit, and then he ended up sneaking back behind me. And somehow it stuck the bottom long enough. I didn't think it was gonna. I had no clue where he was until I saw the name pop up. So it was definitely a hell of a finish.
It was, from where we were sitting, that was about as good as it possibly could get. You led 29 laps in this race. Brewer gets by you a little bit later in the race. And then you pick up some damage, maybe? What did you feel in that incident there where the Meitzler car was sitting in your line, injured, trying to get over the berm and back off the racing surface? We thought that might be the end of your night.
Yeah, I was worried. I definitely got a 2X from it. I was asking Roselli behind me to see if my right front was broke at all because it kind of felt a little bit, but gladly it wasn't, and it still steered pretty well.
Great win. First win with the series in your second event with us. Who do you got to thank for what was a spectacular run to the checkers?
So I run for Public Enemy Speed Shop. So Sean McPhee, all that he does for me, Logan Herbert, and then everything. You guys for putting this on, and I appreciate the invite. It's been a good 2 weeks.
It's been a good 2 weeks indeed, and one heck of a night. Trust me, you're going to want to go back and watch how that one played out, Kenny. That was one heck of a lap. Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
Kenny Ko, your winner tonight in the Murder iRacing Series, Joe. I still am processing what we saw, and Kenny just took us through it so calmly. He knew like everything that was going to happen, and I think was even a little surprised himself. Like you said, didn't think it was going to stick on the bottom in that final run to the checkers.
Yeah, well, he had to try something. I saw him do that little burnout, that little donut on the backstretch. I don't think he probably wasn't quite as calm when he won the race as he was when he was with us in the booth. But yeah, I mean, that worked. Now that worked for him. This one, I'm very curious to see. Now, a fantastic second run, 2 second places in a row for Mike Brewer. And Mike, we got you here with us. Can you walk us through your perspective on that last set of corners? Because man, you had a hell of a race, and it came down to the wire.
Where did he find all that traction?
Where? I wish I could tell you, Mike. I'm honestly not quite sure.
Man, that was amazing. I was not expecting him to be that fast there on the bottom that last lap. That's why I stayed up top. I knew he was gonna try doing a slider because I could tell he was getting a run, but to hold it on the bottom to get me off the corner on the bottom like that, wow, heck of a run.
Absolutely. Talk to me about your perspective on the racetrack through the end of that late race yellow. That really shook things up a little bit, but it definitely looked like the second half of this race, the top side lost an advantage that it had, and it started becoming a bit of a track to pull the elbows out. You had a fantastic battle that lasted a couple laps with some sliders going back and forth. Just tell us how you reacted and what you saw from your perspective of this racetrack.
Yeah, towards the end there, after that caution, entry and middle was gone on the top, so you had to just let it roll through there. And off the exit, there was a little bit to get a hold of, and that's where I could get the run down the straightaways. And it was working. That's why I just stayed up there. So
it seems like that's what worked, and it did work even as the track kind of worked its way off and it kind of slicked off. The top was still there, obviously, that you guys were running that far up. And Mike, two starts, 2 second-place finishes, unofficial championship leader. There's no way you're not the championship leader after 2 second-place runs. That's got to feel good, even though second place can kind of sting sometimes.
It's funny you say that. My brother's watching, and we went all year. I think, all year up to Thunder and didn't win a feature and ended up winning the championship up there. So you don't have to win a race to win championships. So you just got to be consistent and stay clean. And
well, looks like it worked for you, Mike. Anybody you want to shout out and thank here on the broadcast for this performance tonight and the championship lead?
Yeah, definitely Matt and Dean, the broadcast. What is that? BRPtv. Heck of a job. You guys are doing awesome. I got it live here, and I got my brother and everybody watching that. They love it. And Kenny there, that was a lot of fun battling back and forth, and Dom, really clean racing up front. So ton of fun.
That's what we like to hear. Well, congratulations on the second. Nonetheless, Mike, we appreciate your support in coming out with this series. You got the championship lead. We'll see if you can carry that forward even further and maybe go one spot better next week.
Hey, we'll see what happens. We'll be there, and thanks again.
That's what I like to hear. Thank you, Mike. And that was your runner-up finisher, Jonathan. Man, I love the enthusiasm, and I love it when you can pull a driver in after a race like that, and he says something like what Mike said. He says, I had a great time racing Kenny. That is what makes it meaningful to me to be here.
Yeah, especially with the way that we've got a game here. This is a game at the end of the day. As much as you can be involved in actual racing, iRacing, it's a video game. You want people to be having fun and having a good time. And who I think probably had a pretty good time, but maybe would like to mix it up a little bit more is Dominic Roselli. He joins us after finishing in the 3rd spot tonight. Dominic, how's it going, buddy?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing great. I mean, we just saw one heck of a finish. What did you see from your vantage point of those two battling in front of you coming to the checkers?
I saw a whole lot of cars going everywhere, and I saw everybody around me, so I was just trying my best to not wreck myself or anybody else at that point.
Yeah, great run to the checkers for yourself. Kind of had to fight your way through the night. I know the first race of the season of Volusia didn't really go the way you wanted it to, but how much confidence, how are you feeling after getting on the podium in the second event here?
Yeah, for sure. I just didn't qualify really good at Volusia. A little rusty. I haven't been on at all since probably our last race last winter, but it's always good when you could time up front, start on the front row of a heat race. You're going to start towards the front, and it's just hard. Everybody's so good right now. Everybody's running real close lap time, so it's hard to get by anybody. You just got to really wait for a mistake. So it's good to have 2 top 10s to start the year off here.
2 top 10s. Now you're getting on the podium, that much closer towards a win. Who do you got to thank for the early season performance thus far?
Just everybody's on the side of the car. Got to thank you guys and Matt for sure for keeping this thing going. Love watching everything back over. You guys do a great job up in the booth, and just once again, thanks to Matt for keeping this deal together and having what it is.
Well, congrats on the great effort tonight. We'll see you back at it next week. There's the driver, the number 80. It is D Rose, Dominic Roselli, with a solid podium performance, Joe.
Fantastic run for Dominic, and I called it at the beginning of the night. That was a driver that I was anticipating some good things out of. He had a good run of things last week. It didn't quite translate because he just didn't have the starting grid position. But the end of tonight, fortunately for him, he did, and it translates forward. Great stuff from Dominic. So Kenny Coe wins for the first time in this series. He won by 5 thousandths of a second over Mike Brewer, and Dominic Roselli ended up on the 3rd finishing position, the final spot on the podium. Gavin Isley, first guy outside of that podium in the 18 car. Good run for him. And Trevor Giroux did hold on to a top 5. Great stuff from one of our front starting position guys. I want a heat race, so things are looking good for Giroux to have a good run this season. Ryan Beagle, 6th place for him at the end of it. Jeff Sharp gets a top 10. Good for him. Cody Higbee finishes 8th place. I think that's the same position as last week. Don't hold me to that. Matt DeRitter holds 9th place, and the last spot in the top 10 is Dean Reynolds, who started pretty far back in this one, so not too shabby for Dean. 11th is Sean Green, 12th for Joe Matthews, 13th is Dan Smith. Anthony Roselli won last time, ends up 14th tonight. That's not going to be good for his championship run. Scott Rayom, more bad luck for him, unfortunately. One of these days he's going to break through and he's going to win, and we're going to say he deserved this for a long time because he just has not had luck go his way in these first 2 races of the season. Dylan Slider, 16th. Dylan Smith, 17th. 18th for Matt Barber after a good start to the night. Brian Lawson, 19th. Cody Harris ends up a lap down in 20th. 21st for Dean Meitzler. Off the track, Connor Ross, Alan Sleight, and Zach Bardsley also did not finish the race this evening. And that is your final grid, as Mike Brewer should be the guy at the top of the standings after this one. Jonathan, we got to talk to them. We got to watch it. We got to live it. And this is why we come out with the Murder iRacing series every week.
I mean, that was an all-timer. I've been working away on trying to cut some additional clips to see on social media, and I'm going to post them up on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show platforms as well. And I'm already looking forward to trying to figure out how to best clip that one coming to the end, because man, oh man, what a race, what a finish, what a move from Kevin Coe. Or Kenny Coe, excuse me. That's what I'm saying, Kevin Coe.
Yeah. That was... I don't know if he knew... Was that smart, or was that just desperation? Because there was grip there he found, but I don't necessarily know that he was expecting to find it.
I think it was one of those things where I think he knew what he was doing going into 1 and 2 to make that slider move that almost got him the lead on the last lap. But I think in 3 and 4, yes, desperation played into it, but I think he had to send it. You got that close, you're that close to the carrot out front, why not just try and reach out and take a bite? And he's got to be thankful that he did that.
I would definitely agree. I mean, it worked. He won. Fantastic stuff out of that 22C car, and great stuff all around. We almost went flag to flag, and then we had a couple things go askew. Arguably should have probably had a yellow at the beginning of the event, or a little earlier on with that one calamity situation on the backstretch. But hey, that's neither here nor there. Race is over. Kenny Coe won. Fantastic stuff from the BRPtv showing of the Murder iRacing series here. We got to thank all of our partners, especially Sleight Electrical tonight. The Lightning 40 was presented by Sleight Electrical. We also have to thank Murder Graphics, MDR Designs, Creative Turnings, the Southern Ontario Dirt Show, and 47 Technology for being part of this, as well as everybody watching along here with BRPtv. It's a pleasure to bring these broadcasts to you. We always appreciate doing it. It's a great time for Jonathan and I, something to do and something fun to watch, especially when you have races like this. It was a good one, and we're looking forward to seeing what we have coming next week when we go to one of my more favorite personal tracks of the season for these cars, Cedar Lake Speedway in virtual Wisconsin next time. We'll be running with the Cheeseheads. But until then, stay safe, have fun, enjoy it, get on the sim, watch along, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you know when we go live. Check out our channel partners, and we will see you guys in the next broadcast 1 week from today.